The hopes of hundreds of families shattered.
He's taken our last two chances.
The limited options for patients after a Nashville fertility clinic shuts down.
Voter fraud in the mid-state, the case raising concerns as Election Day is just days away.
And approved but a long way from use. After years of debate, what continues to slow down the homeless pod rollout? Fox 17 News at 9 starts now.
Middle Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
In Operation Crime and Justice, this mid-state woman's facing voter fraud charges tonight as election integrity is very much top of mind. Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Couch.
And I'm Kelly Avellino in for Megan O'Halloran. Now, while these charges are new, Wilson County election officials say the incident happened back in July. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar is live in Nashville with how election leaders spotted this alleged fraud months later and what it means for Tuesday's big election.
The Wilson County District Attorney tells me that you need to follow state laws and vote legally. Otherwise, you could face serious consequences.
When you go in to vote, you show your ID, your address is verified with what's in the system, and you sign a document stating everything is accurate. In Wilson County, this woman, Erica Waterbury, is accused of not following the law when she voted in July. A source tells me she used another address when casting a ballot. This indictment calls the act intentional. A Wilson County voter says allegations of fraud should be taken seriously.
When a voter is attempting to vote on an address that isn't theirs, I mean, they're paying the price.
Waterbury faces a charge of illegal registration or voting. Wilson County District Attorney Jason Lawson tells me over the phone the consequences she could face.
Illegal voting in Tennessee is made by our legislature to be a Class D felony. And Class D felonies carry 2 to 4 years of punishment. That can be anything from probation to potential jail time, and it can carry a maximum fine of up to $5,000.
Why did it take months for the Wilson County Election Commission to catch this? We spoke to Tammy Smith, the administrator of elections.
My question is, why didn't you know about that?
Because if they sign under penalty of perjury that they live at the address they live at on an application, there's not a thing. I'm not going to everybody's house to make sure they live there.
Pointing to the state laws. The state assured us it is not widespread and, quote, local officials routinely performed list maintenance, monitored postal information for return mail, changes of address as well as commercial lists to identify those who may have moved, end quote. Waterbury did not respond to her questions.
Lawson tells me that it's up to voters to follow state laws, but Smith suggests that there needs to be stricter laws in order for the Election Commission to crack down on illegal voting or illegal registration. Reporting live in Nashville, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Fox 17 News is committed to bringing you in-depth analysis of all the key issues leading up to the big election next Tuesday, November 5th. As soon as the polls close next Tuesday night, Fox 17 will be here to bring you the very latest results on the key races, both on air and online at fox17.com. And to see our previous reporting on both local and national races, go to the Fox Nashville YouTube channel.
The fact that there are so many roadblocks is indicative of this city's inability to pivot on what is needed for the homeless crisis.
In the high cost of homelessness tonight, Metro finally gets state approval to use pods to house the homeless. Fox 17 News first told you about Metro spending $1.2 million on these pods back in 2021. They've just been sitting in storage since. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller is live from the Metro Courthouse after speaking with a council member leading the charge here to get these shelters ready to go. Caitlin.
Yes, Kelly, I spoke with Metro Councilwoman Erin Evans, who says that this is a bright light moving forward, especially after fighting for years with the state to get approval to use these pods. But she says even though the state did approve these pods, there's still a lot that needs to be done before the city can actually use them. This is the letter of approval Metro received from the State Fire Marshal's office. It deemed the pod structures code compliant with the following requirements, like a thermal barrier and making sure the structures are 12 feet from each other for fire safety.
Metro Councilwoman Erin Evans says they can finally start moving on this 3 years after Fox 17 News first reported the city purchased these pods.
Is there a plan available that we can put together? Will nonprofits or faith communities be willing to apply and meet those standards?
Evans explains there will be a bid process to get stakeholders involved, and then they will work together to execute a plan. She emphasizes it's been a battle the last few years with the state to get to this point.
You know, it's been an example, of how we have in government a lot of functional silos, where departments and agencies, and this is local and state level, are not always communicating well.
Dee Dee Bird, who has been a huge advocate for getting all of the homeless people who are living at Brookmead Park housing, says people are not safe in encampments.
The first thing you have to do is get an individual into a safe environment. You have to get them in a place where the outreach workers can provide the services safely.
Bird says this is the only way to get homeless people permanent help and housing. But Evans says there's a chance if no organizations are interested in investing in these pods, that they would have to give them to another city. But she's hopeful that they won't have to do that.
Metro Councilman Evans is not sure how long it will take to find a stakeholder and develop a plan, but she's hoping to have a better idea soon. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Fox 17 News has been tracking the progress and delays of these pods since 2021. We showed you how Metro bought those homeless pods to act as emergency shelters during the pandemic. Well, that never happened. Then in 2023, Metro leaders thought they were closer to passing the final hurdle, only to see more pushback. Council members said the snag there was over whether pods met city codes. And looking ahead, White House will be getting a brand new freestanding emergency room. Great news for that community. TriStar Health in Hendersonville just got approval for the facility to be built in White House. Currently, residents there are about 30 minutes away from the nearest emergency care center. No word yet on how soon it'll be built. We'll keep you updated.
Looking ahead now to November, not far away, and that's when the state will be kicking off its No Trash November campaign again. Last year, volunteers cleaned up, get this folks, ton of trash, 86,000 pounds of it. And this year, they're hoping to pick up even more.
The month-long initiative encourages you to take part in cleanup events in your community. This year, everyone will be rewarded for their efforts by earning points that are redeemable for a variety of rewards, including No Trash November swag and discounts at local retailers. For more on how to take part, go to our website, fox17.com, and click on Fox Links.
Surprise, surprise, we have some rain to talk about on radar. These are estimated rainfall amounts from this afternoon here. We've had anywhere between 1/4 to 1/2 inch, close to 1 inch in some spots, and it's still raining out towards the plateau, so we are going to add to this number as we head through the next couple of hours here. Major line of showers is still pushing through, mainly east of I-65. I think we will find some lingering showers, though, as we head through the overnight hours. Things are looking quiet here from Nashville, a rainy evening, and temperatures look to stay mild but cooling down quickly. We'll talk more about a cooler day on the way for tomorrow coming up.
Hundreds of families absolutely devastated after a Nashville fertility clinic shuts down abruptly. What's next for these former patients?
Also ahead, 270's the goal, the path to victory for each of the presidential candidates through the Electoral College.
He's taken our last 2 chances until we have money back or the embryos back, or the embryos back. There isn't a next step for us. There isn't anything we can do at this point.
Fox 17 News investigates after hundreds of families are shattered when a Nashville fertility center abruptly shuts down back in April. Since then, lawsuits and allegations are stacking up against the Center for Reproductive Health.
As Fox 17 News' Megan O'Halloran shows us tonight, for those patients who trusted Dr. Jaime Vasquez, Dr. Ferrer Dyer, and this practice, it has changed their family planning trajectory.
For the last 20 years, people showed up here at their most vulnerable with hearts and wallets wide open. Families struggling with infertility, single women in a race against the clock, some battling cancer, trying to protect their future. The Center for Reproductive Health has been the last stop on the painful journey that led them here. Aaron and Gregor Meyer have been trying to have children for the last 6 years. It's become a $65,000 investment, and so far, they have nothing to show for it.
We have spent so much money on IVF. We have, it is not cheap. It has taken all of our savings. And for this last round, this last time, we were like, all right, we had to pull out of retirement for it. And it was a one-time deal. We were only going to do it once.
Money the Meyer family may never get back. 42-year-old Aaron is listed as Jane Doe 3 in this complaint filed by the Attorney General's office outlining alleged egregious mismanagement, negligence, and deceit at the hands of Dr. Jaime Vasquez, owner and operator of the now defunct Center for Reproductive Health in Nashville. A judge issued a temporary restraining order and turned the business over to a court-appointed receiver after CRH suffered a complete collapse and ran out of money to pay staff members. The first of many troubling revelations.
What we inherited was a business in complete disarray, not just financially, but ultimately organizationally. It wasn't protected properly with insurance.
In court records, attorneys for Dr. Vasquez say that he hasn't taken a salary for the last year and accuses staffers of giving themselves unauthorized raises. On top of that,
there are allegations that one of the employees that represented himself as a doctor is in fact not a medical professional. And so obviously that whole situation comes into play.
Fareer Dyer is listed on social media pages for CRH as Dr. Dyer, and now his medical background has come into question. There is speculation he's left the country. It's all part of a Metro Police investigation. Another infuriating development for the Meyer family.
It's sort of the Wild West. IVF is the Wild West. And who's got the oversight? Who's making sure that he's not taking advantage of his patients?
At the end of their fertility journey, the Meyers say they're now out of time and out of money. They adopted 2 embryos from the clinic that were being stored in cryopreservation tanks on site, but they have no idea if the genetic material is viable or even being properly cared for at this point. The court has ordered all genetic material to be transported to Tennessee Fertility Institute, where it will undergo a full medical audit. But the court-appointed receiver doesn't have the confidence that the center's record keeping will be accurate enough to get the specimens back to its rightful owners. Dr. Vasquez initially filed for bankruptcy, but the state convinced him to pause that pursuit until patients have successfully been reunited with their genetic material. The Meyers, with a dream on a deadline that now feels so far out of reach, are waiting for their day in court to come face to face with the doctor they put their entire trust into and hope to tell him this.
You have taken our hope. You took our money. You probably took our last 2 chances to have children. I don't know how you live with yourself, and I don't know how you think you were going to ride into the sunset thinking you got away with this.
The Metro District Attorney's Office sent a letter to former patients saying that the facts of this case do not meet the legal requirements necessary to pursue a criminal prosecution for rape by fraud under state law here in Tennessee. But the U.S. Attorney's Office is actively investigating.
Well, let's take a look here at our Nissan Stadium camera to start. Things have been rainy this evening, putting a damper on trick-or-treating, but much needed rainfall that we have been asking and hoping for the last several weeks. So we will continue to find some light showers that will linger through Friday morning before we clear out. The weekend remains dry and fairly warm for this time of year. And a little later on, we'll talk more about Election Day weather, what it's looking like next Tuesday. Future track you can see through tomorrow morning keeps a lot of these light showers around, mainly along and east of I-65. I think as we head into the late morning hours, we will start to clear out, and we're looking at dry weather to take over for us. We are dry through the weekend, as I mentioned. Won't be until next week, actually, Election Day, that we're starting to see some showers build in. The rain chance looks to be later in the afternoon, more into the evening and overnight. So that is where we are tracking more of the rain. So for, I would say, the majority of Election Day, we are looking at dry weather, but showers are expected to arrive at some point through the afternoon and evening. Tomorrow, temperatures right around 59 here at 10. We're up to about 67 by 2. We do cool down for tomorrow. We were at 80 degrees today. We're back down to 70 for tomorrow, which is still above average for this time of year. Our average high sits in the mid 60s this time of year, and we're well above that for today, and we even will be for tomorrow. So we walk you through the overnight. You notice we've got this cooler air that is filtering in. This is 7 a.m. on Friday. Overnight lows for folks in Hopkinsville to Clarksville, mid to upper 40s. I think we bottom out in the upper 50s to around 60 here in Nashville. Will be a little bit warmer here east, and that'll be as the front moves in overnight. Of course, we'll cool down quicker to the north and west. As we get into the afternoon, you can see we will start to see the clouds clear for the afternoon, leaving us with temperatures in those upper 60s to around 70 degrees, and another chilly night possibly for folks up in southern Kentucky. But a big difference here as we head towards Nashville, temperatures around 50 and mid to upper 50s closer to McMinnville and Tullahoma for early Saturday morning. But a nice big warm up is on the way as we head towards the weekend. We'll talk more about that. And I mentioned Election Day. Plus, we are not done yet with hurricane season, what we are watching closely in the tropics.
With just days to go before Election Day, both campaigns are thinking about how they get to the White House. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington with some electoral map math coming up.
As both candidates continue to make their final push for the White House, it all comes down to some simple math to get there, really.
And we're getting down to it. Fox 17 News' Matt Galka tonight breaking down the numbers we're talking about, the ones needed to win the Electoral College. And you can let us know what you think by scanning the QR code that will appear on your screen during this story.
270 is the magic number, so how do you get there? Assuming the rest of the electoral map follows typical election trends, the campaigns are focused on 7 swing states. And the easiest path for Vice President Kamala Harris goes through the Rust Belt, or the so-called Blue Wall. If she were to capture Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, she gets to 270 and she wins, even if Donald Trump gets the remaining 4 swing states. But with such a thin margin of error, even just one Blue Wall state going to Donald Trump would mean he wins the White House. They both spent time in Wisconsin this week. Both candidates will be returning to the Rust Belt in the final days of both of their campaigns. Now, for Donald Trump, he wants to win the southern states, North Carolina and Georgia. If he sweeps both of those states, it gives him a lot more options in his path to 270. Getting Pennsylvania, that would get it done for Donald Trump, 270 votes right there. If not Pennsylvania, one other Rust Belt state, 266, that means he would need either Nevada or Arizona. If he gets them both, well over 270. So it starts with winning both of those southern states. Both candidates were also in North Carolina this week. And then there's the Sun Belt. In 2020, Joe Biden won both Nevada and Arizona by very slim margins. But right now, the former president, Donald Trump, is polling either up or tied in both of those states. If he were to win Nevada, Arizona, and the southern states, he would still need at least one Rust Belt state. He's only at 268. For the vice president, if she were to repeat Joe Biden's victories in Nevada, Arizona, get North Carolina and Georgia, she could lose the Blue Wall, but still win the White House. A lot of different scenarios, a lot of math to consider as we get down to the final few days of election season. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
During that story, we had a QR code on screen linking you to a poll asking if you feel like you're better off today than you were 4 years ago. More than 1,450 people weighed in, and the vast majority of our viewers, at least 79%, say no, we are not. 20.9% say yes, we feel like we are better off now than 4 years ago. Thank you very much for taking time to vote.
Just how much do optics matter? I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at how Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are using political backdrops and props in the campaign.
Do you have a message to the community when you do reopen?
In Operation Crime and Justice, a Metro judge today allows a North Nashville market padlocked as a community nuisance to reopen, but only if the business owners meet certain conditions. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker lays out those conditions. She has been covering issues in that area for more than a year before that market was shut down.
The DA's office says loitering, shooting, and drug deals have plagued the Star Market for years now. And community members even told me they were relieved when it shut down. But now it may reopen with stipulations and a very hefty bill.
On June 3rd of this year, Metro Police raided and padlocked the controversial Star Market. It followed a court order under Tennessee's public nuisance law, leading to a hearing on Thursday.
The defendants are conceding that the Star Market was a public nuisance.
After months of negotiations, the Star Market owners reached an agreement with Metro Police and the District Attorney's Office, signed off by Judge Dozier in court.
They are prohibited from allowing any kind of fights, drunkenness, drug sales, robberies, shootings.
Paul DeWitt with the District Attorney's Office says the owners, 44-year-old Bolis Bakhtor and 43-year-old Bassam Farag, are considering reopening the Star Market upon meeting those terms.
I know that they were talked to quite a few times, so what will be different this time?
They could be found in contempt of court and incarcerated, or we could take a further step and ask the court to force a sale of the store at a public auction to the highest bidder.
We got up with the owners Bakhtor and Farag in the courthouse hallway, but we didn't get many answers.
When you plan to reopen? We'll open soon. How will you address the loitering issues? Do you have a message to the community when you do reopen?
On Thursday, we learned the owners handed the police department a $79,000 check for Star Market investigation costs and another $21,000 check for another case they were involved in.
I think the police department, but more importantly, the community comes out ahead in this. We have taken steps to improve the safety of that particular neighborhood.
Now, police say the men were arrested earlier this year for money laundering and theft at their other shop, the F&B Market on Clarksville Highway. Now, that is a separate case, but keep in mind that police will also recover over $340,000 linked to that laundering operation. For now, reporting in North Nashville, Kylie Walker, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Here's a live look at the White House tonight as a tale of two strategies takes shape in this presidential election as we approach the final days before voters decide who they're going to send back to the People's House. Fox 17 News' Christine Frizzell has how both candidates are playing their cards.
For a former reality TV star, perception is paramount.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Donald Trump's use of a garbage truck to keep President Joe Biden's comment about a comedian in the news cycle just one of many viral moments. A quick stint working the fry cooker at McDonald's, and the now iconic image of him yelling "fight" after an assassination attempt against him.
Part of his campaign is to say that I'm a tough guy. I can handle the tough foreign policy challenges. And look at me, I was shot at. And right after I was shot, I showed defiance.
For Vice President Kamala Harris, it's interactions with voters, her message of joy at the Democratic National Convention, and a speech this week on the National Mall, meant to draw a contrast between her and her opponent.
It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict.
These campaign strategies playing out differently on TV. A UCLA study on media sentiment analyzing transcripts from ABC, CBS, Fox News, and CNN showed Democrats have been reflected more positively, but that includes both how journalists have described Harris and Trump and how they've described themselves and their messages.
What we find over the course of the campaign is that the sentiment of Harris sentences has been systematically more positive than the sentiment of Trump sentences. And that has been the case with very few exceptions on a day-to-day basis since July.
A recent Pew Research study found a large majority of U.S. adults, 86%, say they at least sometimes get news from a smartphone, computer, or tablet, including 57% who say they do so often.
So in the age of social media and digital devices, those viral moments may matter more. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Things he said on the campaign trail are coming back to haunt former President Donald Trump. At rallies, he has said flat out that if he's elected president, women will not be thinking about abortion, his words. Now, last night he doubled down on that claim despite telling the audience that his campaign had warned him against it.
Well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Democrats are now making that remark a talking point. Vice President Kamala Harris says that the former president should not be making decisions about women's bodies.
It actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies.
Both campaigns claim that women will be in greater danger if the other is elected. Tonight's Fox 17 poll question on X is asking whether you have voted early. Today was the last day in our state, or whether you plan to wait until Election Day, which is next Tuesday. 559 people have weighed in, and the overwhelming majority of the people in this poll, 81.9%, say we have already done the deed. We voted already. 18.1% say we will wait for Election Day. If you would like to add your voice to this, just scan the QR code there on the right-hand side of your screen. It'll take you to our X page at Fox Nashville, and we will update these results coming up tonight on Fox 17 News at 9. Katie, did you vote early? You're going to have to wait.
I'm going to do it on Election Day.
I am too. I intended to vote early.
Yeah.
Just didn't quite get it done.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just like voting on Election Day. Let's start off with a live look here over our Metro Center camera. We are seeing something here that we haven't seen in a while. Rain on the pavement. The good news is most of the rain is starting to clear here from Nashville, but there will be a few lingering showers going into tomorrow morning. So getting out tomorrow morning, I would expect mostly cloudy skies and a few light showers that'll be around. The majority of the measurable rain will be gone by tomorrow morning here. Temperatures in those upper 50s. A reminder, this weekend we are setting those clocks back. The sunsets will be happening much earlier. 4:48, the sunset for this Sunday.
Some areas across Middle Tennessee already seeing some nice color change going on with some of these leaves. I'll let you know when we're looking at peak colors across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky in just a bit.
Turning to the weather, fall colors are all around right now. The big question is, how long is this color going to last?
Hopefully a while. Fox 17 News' Code Red meteorologist Brett Luna is telling us when we can expect that peak color change and which trees are changing to which colors.
Here's a beautiful shot for you of this bald eagle flying over Radnor Lake, and then in the background you can see all that nice looking fall foliage too, and we're going to start to see some really good colors here across Middle Tennessee. Some areas already seeing that right now, and then I think next week we're going to start to see more of those getting into the peak color. Want to show you some of the different type of trees though that you can see out here that are native across Middle Tennessee. You can find some of these at Radnor Lake too. An oak tree, those leaves are going to be turning that nice red color, and then hickory trees, those are really good looking too. Those will turn more of that golden bronze color, and then you can also find some dogwood trees around here. Those will turn more of a purple color, the leaves on a dogwood tree. I want to take it back though to where it all begins. During the springtime, we need a good growing season, good rainfall amounts. We definitely got that this year. In the summer, near normal rainfall amounts. We actually were a little bit below normal. And then for the fall time, we need some cool, crisp nights and then warm, sunny days with no excessive rainfall or wind. And we definitely didn't get any excessive rainfall this fall so far. So it was a rainy April and May. We had almost 12 inches of rainfall. That was above normal. A dry summer though, almost 7 inches of rain. And then as we headed into the fall time, it kind of started to drop down quite a bit too, especially once we got past September. Late September, we got some really good rain that moved through with Helene, 4.5 inches almost in one day alone late September. But then for the rest of October, it was nearly all dry. If you take out today, we only had 1 day of any sort of rainfall. That was just 5/100ths of an inch. So a very dry October for us. This map is from Evan Fisher at Explorer Fall, a great map showing the current fall foliage. Most of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky were at moderate color. And then as we fast forward on into next week, this is going to be the outlook map for November 4th. For the week of November 4th, I think most of Middle Tennessee is going to be seeing some of that high and peak color with the leaf change.
Coming up, we'll talk more about Election Day weather, how it's looking next Tuesday.
A group of Tullahoma High School kids are taking on a wrongful conviction as a class project. It's a story we covered for years. Wait till you see their take on it. That story's next.
Fox 17 News Farrier Files is sponsored by Bart Durham Injury Law.
A crime blogger who uncovered a wrongful conviction in Grundy County has found another questionable case in that same area.
Interesting. Now, Fox 17 News' Dennis Farrier has tracked that same case for 2 years now. And as Dennis shows us in tonight's Farrier Files, it is front and center in a pre-law class right now at a Tullahoma high school.
Every school day, a group of kids are poring over the evidence and testimony surrounding the murder conviction of Wayne Grimes in Grundy County. What they have discovered mirrors what we discovered, a case with more questions than answers, more doubt than conviction.
Do we have any information to believe that the victim's home had been visited?
Kay Lane doesn't get her class materials from ordinary sources.
So can you get your autopsy copies out?
She goes to the state Supreme Court to make copies of crime scene photos, exhibits, and testimony in the Doyle Presley murder case.
We believe that there's, from beginning to end, that there's holes in the information. And the more we read and the more information we collect and find out the official information, those holes seem to get wider. The story doesn't seem to make any sense.
Mrs. Lane has brought judges, investigators, and lawyers to be guest speakers for her pre-law class at Tullahoma High School.
None of those people wound up being charged.
Today, the guest is the crime blogger and documentarian who broke this story, DK Sale.
To convict you of a 7-year-old murder that they never really investigated in the first place.
It would take an hour to give you the whole backstory. Here's the one-paragraph version. County Commissioner and firefighter Wayne Grimes was highly critical of Grundy County's reluctance to shut down the meth trade. The next thing you know, he is charged with the murder of his friend Doyle Presley in 1998. No physical evidence, shaky testimony, and questionable science. A disaster that put a man in prison for 51 years. The students can't believe this led to a conviction.
The more you learn, the more you believe that he's innocent and that someone else might be involved.
The students have poured over enough evidence in the first 2 months of the semester to make a bold statement and make an even bolder goal.
Ultimately, for Wayne to be free, although we're not attorneys, we can't make that happen. I just feel like getting this message out and for people to see that a classroom full of children can point out these inconsistencies.
What else have we been checking into?
They're not done, far from it. Kay Lane may be a high school teacher, but she has an unquenchable thirst for justice.
And so we're just going to continue. We're just going to continue and continue and continue.
Wayne Grimes, by the way, had no criminal record. He was a pillar of the community. Like he said to me during one of our long prison phone calls, if you would have told me I'd be serving life in prison for murder, I would have said, you're talking about somebody else. Sadly, we are not. I'm Dennis Farrier, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Fox 17 News Farrier Files is sponsored by Bart Durham Injury Law.
Rain has moved through much of Middle Tennessee and continues out towards the plateau. We'll start with a live look here from our Broadway camera, and you can see a lot of folks out and about. The Preds game must have gotten out. There was a home game this evening here. I'm going to go back over to the radar just to take a look, and I'll clear off some of the labels there. Just to get an idea of where some of those light showers are. So we do continue to see some of that rain, mainly east of I-65, and I do believe some light lingering showers will be around as we head through the evening hours and into early tomorrow morning. Let's look ahead, though, to next Tuesday, Election Day. I mentioned there will be a potential for some rain later in the day. That's the way it is looking right now. Cold front arriving by Tuesday afternoon. So much of the morning and midday should be dry. At this point, of course, we're at Thursday and talking about Tuesday, so there's some time and wiggle room for the timing of the rain to change a little bit. Low 70s, 9 o'clock up to about 78 by 12, and looking at temperatures to top off near 80 degrees for the day. So an unseasonably warm afternoon, but notice that we do have a chance for rain starting to build in. So this is a look at future track next Tuesday. Notice your timestamp here, and we'll walk you through the evening hours or the afternoon, you can see that we've got some rain that'll be pushing in by midday here. This is 12 noon. A little bit better chance for showers developing as we head into the afternoon hours and working its way through the area. So here's 6 p.m. and then the rain continues to work its way east as we head through Tuesday night, drying out as we head into early Wednesday morning. So potential is there for some showers. Right now, it does not look like severe weather is on the menu, but that is something we'll be watching closely as we get a little bit closer to next week. Something else we are watching closely, the tropics. You almost have to check the calendar and realize it is the beginning of November. Remember, hurricane season goes till the end of November. This is a little active for this time of year, but the one that we are mostly watching here is Invest number 1. That's this big orange circled area. Over the next 7 days, there's a 60% chance for development. So that is an area that we'll be watching closely. Next named storm on the list will be Patty. So if something does decide to perk up in the next week, Patty would be the name. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Temperatures in the 70s for the next few days, back to the low 80s though into next week. And then election day looking quite warm with highs in the low 80s.
Tennessee Titans looking to get back in the win column this weekend, and one receiver is doing everything he can to make that happen. I'll have more on the two-tone blue coming up next.
Also ahead, turning Halloween into a tribute, the story behind this special spooky display.
After the Titans traded away DeAndre Hopkins, the spotlight was then put on his teammate Calvin Ridley, and the veteran made sure to make it count. Ridley had his best performance of the season against the Lions, finishing with 143 yards and 10 catches. And while not having D-Hop in the lineup may have gotten him some more looks, Ridley also stepped up his preparation this past week, taking advantage of the tennis ball machine, jugs machine, and waking up bright and early.
Yeah, I was already checked in at the beginning of the game, and just the preparation. I think my prep all week had, I knew the game was going to be good. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
We just got a new tennis ball machine that came in last week on top of it, so he's out there in the walkthrough catching tennis balls. He's at before practice, after practice. But he's done a lot of things to refocus himself and get back to it, and I thought it paid off on Sunday.
As far as the quarterback situation goes, starting quarterback Will Levis was limited once again at practice for the second straight day today, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as we get deeper into the weekend. 7th-ranked Tennessee Vols return to the football field this weekend after having last week off. Vols getting ready to host 3-5 Kentucky Saturday at Neyland Stadium, and the Big Orange sitting at 6-1 overall, still very much in the college football playoff conversation. They do still have 4 more SEC games to go, starting with the Wildcats. As for Vanderbilt, the Commodores just need one more win to be bowl eligible, which would be the first time in 6 years that they will have played a bowl game. The Doors made it into the top 25 rankings last week thanks to 3 straight wins, but then dropped out of that poll after their 3-point loss to 5th-ranked Texas. Doors will be on the road at Auburn this weekend. Kickoff set for 11:45 a.m. from Jordan-Hare Stadium. Jill Jonlick, Fox 17 Sports, your Code Red station.
A special tribute on Halloween.
We'll tell you who is being honored by these spooky decorations back here and the story behind it. Here's the Halloween story for you. In Rutherford County, a special display is bringing attention to the importance of organ donation. Now, it's Carrie Hollis's Boo House in the borough. Kind of funny there, Boo House in the borough.
But a really special meaning. Every year, her family sets up a massive display, we know, to entertain their neighborhood. But this year, Hollis is honoring 2 people impacted by organ donations. Her father, who was a heart recipient, and her son, Austin, who donated 6 organs after his death because of pneumonia. Hollis is hoping this display inspires others to give the gift of life.
I'm Keely Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, Republicans concerned big tech is once again allegedly putting their hand on the scales.
This is Fox 17 News at 10, your Code Red station.
Homelessness to us has always been an emergency.